ముందుగా ప్రియమైన విద్యార్థులకు మరియు వారి తల్లిదండ్రులకు నమస్కారం. నా పేరు కె వెంకన్న జూనియర్ కాలేజ్ చైర్మన్. నేను ఈ రోజు 10th క్లాస్ విద్యార్థులను దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని మాట్లాడడం జరుగుతుంది. అది ఏమిటనగా, మనందరికీ తెలుసు, గత 2 సంవత్సరాలుగా కరోనా కారణంగా విద్యార్థులు ఎటువంటి పరీక్షలు రాయకుండానే పై తరగతులు పంపడం జరుగుతుంది. ఫలితంగా ఐఐటి జేఈఈ మరియు నీట్ లాంటి జాతీయ స్థాయి పరీక్షలను సాధించడం కష్టతరం అవుతుంది. దీనిని అధిగమించడానికి మరియు 10వ తరగతి పరీక్షలో అత్యధిక మార్కులు సాధించడానికి నేను మీ ముందుకు కె వెంకన్న జూనియర్ కాలేజ్ ప్లాట్ఫామ్ ద్వారా అనుభవజ్ఞులైన అధ్యాపకులచే ఉచిత వీడియో క్లాసులు, హ్యాండ్ రిటన్ నోట్స్ మరియు గత ప్రశ్నపత్రాల సమాధానాల విశ్లేషణ ఇవ్వబడును. కాబట్టి నేను విద్యార్థులకు చెప్పదలుచుకున్నది ఏంటంటే, ఈ ఉచిత వీడియో క్లాసులను మరియు హ్యాండ్ రిటన్ నోట్స్లను క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో కూర్చొని చదువుకున్నంత సీరియస్ చదువుకోవాలను. ఇంకొకటి ఏమిటనగా, ఈ యొక్క క్లాసులు విన్న వెంటనే అర్థం చేసుకొని ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయవలను. ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయడం అంటే కేవలం చదవడం కాదు, పేపర్ మీద రాయవలను. అలాగైతే గుర్తుండిపోతుంది. దీంతో పాటు మీ యొక్క నాలెడ్జ్ ని పరీక్షించుకున్న కొరకు త్వరలో ప్రీ ఫైనల్ పరీక్షలు కూడా నిర్వహించబడు. ఈ యొక్క అవకాశాన్ని సద్వినియోగం చేసుకోవాలని 10th చదివే విద్యార్థులకు విజ్ఞప్తి చేస్తున్నాను.
As I said, in social studies, most importantly, graphs, pie charts, data, all these things, the tabular forms give a crystal clear information, because we need to get the crystal clear information to understand anything. So the graph in your textbook, it is in page number 31, you have this graph which is given. In 1973 and 1974, they have compared between 73-74 financial year and 2013-14 financial year, and what is the percentage and the figures as I'll been mentioned. For me, for my convenience, because I do not have that color chalk, so for me I gave you agriculture as pink color, blue as my industry, and yellow as my services. And you just go across the colors. There's all difference in the colors, but I'll mention you. And why is that? So there is so much of change in the figures in 1973 to 74, and the financial is 2013 and 14. What is the difference? There is a huge of difference. If you go through the graph, if you see the figures also, there is huge of difference in the crores of rupees. Why is that happening? What is the difference? Suddenly there is a change in here it is suddenly there is a change, the drastic there is a graph. We have here 73-74, the agriculture is minimal. But when you compare it to the 2013-14, why is the gross domestic product has increased? But when you compare, see this yellow service sector has increased drastically, and blue one is the industry which has contributed a little. What is the difference? Why is that agriculture sector could not, the GDP from the agriculture sector was not the maximum in 2013 and 14? Why is that so? And see the industry here, the industry was also nominal, but why is it industry could, the GDP from the industry was even more than the agriculture in 2013 and 14, isn't it so? Are you able to find the difference? What is pink color here? Agriculture. What does blue color indicate? Industry. This is the GDP what we are saying right now here. And what is the yellow? It is the services. Enduku perigindi cheppandi, one simple logic. What is the difference? Why is such a huge difference in GDP suddenly in services? Why? Enduku perigindi? If you think about it, India, as I said you in my previous classes also, India is the second largest populated country of the globally, right, of the world. So obviously when the people increase, the population increases, the services increase, the technology increases, everything output of the production also increases. When the production is increased, the services also increased. As we are going with the technology and all, the IT industry has increased, industries have increased. In the industries where you require people with services, so the service sector has increased. You should be extremely happy. India is no more dependent only on agriculture for its GDP. We do contribute, but industry as well is contributing more to the GDP of the country, as well as the service sector is contributing even than any other industry into the GDP. So this graph shows us that how GDP, how we are increasing day by day. Every time when children, I tell you one thing, I know మీరు అందరూ మంచి మంచి సినిమాలు వచ్చినప్పుడు టీవీ చూస్తారు. అందరూ పుష్ప సినిమా చూశారు కదా. ఐ నో యూ ఆల్ మస్ట్ హ్యావ్ వాచ్డ్ పుష్ప మూవీ, ఎవ్రీబడి మస్ట్ బి లవింగ్ ఇట్. బట్ ఇట్ ద సిమిలర్ వే ఇదే టైంలో ఫైనాన్షియల్ బడ్జెట్ అని రిలీజ్ అయ్యి ఎనీబడి హ్యావ్ వాచ్డ్? యూ షుడ్ వాచ్ పుష్ప. గ్యారంటీగా చూడండి, ఎంజాయ్ చేయండి, యూ షుడ్ హ్యావ్ ఫన్. బట్ అట్ ద సేమ్ టైమ్ focus on even a bit of your academics, keep updated yourself, okay? So what do you see in the financial academic year? If you look across, you will find that our financial minister, she must, Nirmala Sitharaman says the GDP has increased or decreased. ఎందుకు చెప్తూ ఉంటారు? Why does she say this? ఏ బేసిస్ మీద పెరుగుతుంది, ఏ బేసిస్ మీద తగ్గుతుంది మనకి అంటే మనం ఇచ్చే సర్వీసెస్, మనం చేసే ప్రొడక్షన్ మీదే మన జీడిపి డిపెండ్ అయి ఉంటుంది. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఎ గుడ్ థింగ్ that in 1973-74 agriculture we had the good GDP, but in 2013-14 service sector contributed to the maximum amount of GDP. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. And the next thing is what industry, the second position the GDP contributed by the industry stands in the second position, the third position stands the agriculture. But what is the alarming factor here, what we'll have to consider is, as the population keeps on increasing, the requirements also grow. And how should we increase the GDP from agriculture is because even today 50 to 60% of the population is still in the villages are dependent on agriculture. How can we increase this GDP on agriculture? How can we increase? Still not dependent on the ancient and the pedagogic ways of cultivation. We'll have to equip, adopt, embrace the new modern techniques. The more the fast the production is, we get the consumption. So obviously this is how we can increase even our GDP even in agricultural sector. The reason why we are showing you, because you're the future generations of this country. We have already lived. I have walked halfway towards my graveyard. You are the future generations. You need to understand all these things. Where our country lies, where is the agriculture sector, where is the industrial sector, and where are the service sector. Because today, tomorrow, after completion of your class 10, you will be getting into plus 2, 11th and 12th, then you will be getting into your professional careers, whatever you choose. But you will be falling in one of the sector, yes or no? Either you're a doctor or engineer or get into army, civils, UPSC exams, what not you crack. But you are in one of the three sectors, the primary, the secondary and the tertiary. I just wanted to correct myself. There was a spelling mistake in out of chaos. I have written the tertiary spelling also wrong. So that's not the correct spelling. The correct spelling is TERITIARY. So just correct this. I'm extremely sorry for the mistake, and I'm extremely sorry for that. So obviously, why should you know this GDP and all? As I said, you are the future of the country. You should know all these things. You should be equipped. You should be understanding all these things. Tomorrow, when you're getting into a job, tomorrow you become an engineer. Everyone of you will become an engineer, IT professional, doctors, farmer, whatever you get into. Tomorrow you'll understand that yes, even I'm contributing to my country. You are contributing. You are as well contributing to the GDP of the country. So obviously, when you're contributing, don't you think you should understand the GDP? Absolutely, you should understand GDP. Now, after this graph, I think it is very clear. Year by year how India is growing and how is India contributing, different sectors, how are they contributing to GDP, I think it's crystal clear, students, now. So now I'll give a small example, how do we calculate GDP, because you might be skeptical, you might be keeping your fingers crossed, such a bigger country, so many goods and services produced every every financial year. So how are these being calculated? To understand, a small example I'll give you, 1 second, a small example I'll give you.
Hello friends, myself Sunil Kumar Badal. I have done my BTech from IIT Kanpur. Here at KVC I am chemistry faculty. So first of all, let me wish you all the best for your upcoming board examination. Here at KVC we are the team of IITians and ITians and doctor to help you achieve your dream. So what are you waiting for? Come and join us and fulfill your dream.
See this is an example. In 2015-16 GDP of shares increased. Now, as I said, as I focused, even still today, as the contribution of GDP from different sectors have increased than even primary sector, especially agriculture, even then there are still some people dependent on agriculture. As I said, I want to explain you taking that as into consideration. See, for example, in 24% of, as I said, in 2015 and 16, there are other sectors also majoritarily contributed to the GDP. What are those apart from agriculture? Apart from agriculture, financial sector, there are so many finance companies. They contributed to the GDP, the circulation of the money. Finances, insurance, everybody has medical insurance. Whenever you're going to any hospitals, everybody asks, do you have any insurance? And every day we get across this advertisement, Life Insurance Company of India, what not, anything, a number of things. Again, I am not an agent of LIC or anything, I am just quoting an example, okay. So the GDP in 2015-16, what are the others apart from agriculture which contributed are finance, insurance, real estate, trade. What is real estate? What is real estate? It's all about your lands, construction of houses and all these things. What is trade? Export and imports. Hotels, hospitality, right? Hotels, and 24% of the agriculture sector got decreased. That's a good thing, but we'll have to always keep that India as an agricultural country, we'll have to increase this GDP always. It is standard way in even in agricultural, okay. And now example of a GDP calculation, very simple example students, okay. For example, for calculation of GDP, you have stage 1, stage 2 and stage 3. What is the stage 1? Sale of paddy by a farmer. A farmer cultivates the crop and he gets the final output, he produces, he gets the final output of the paddy. So what does he do? He sells this paddy to a retailer person by 2,500. The total value, whatever he invested, that is total, it is 2,500. And stage 2, what is stage 2? Sale of rice and husk by rice miller. What is this stage 1 this farmer does? He sells all of the paddy to the rice miller. Once the paddy comes to the rice miller, what does this rice miller do? మనం డైరెక్ట్గా వడ్లు తినేయగలమా? తినలేం కదా. దాన్ని మనం సెగ్రిగేట్ చేయాలి, దాన్ని మనం పొట్టు తీయాలి, ఇవన్నీ చేసిన తర్వాత మనకి మంచి బియ్యం వస్తే మనం తింటాము. అమ్మ మనకి బోల్డ్ అని మంచి మంచి వంటకాలు వండి పెడతారు. మరి ఇది స్టేజ్ 1లో మనకి పాడి వరి, తెలుగులో మనం ఏమంటారు దాన్ని వరి వస్తుంది. మనం స్టేజ్ 2 వచ్చేప్పటికి ఏం చేస్తాం మనము? ఒక రైస్ మిల్లర్కి అమ్మేశాడు ఫార్మర్. సో వాట్ విల్ ద రైస్ మిల్లర్ డూ? సెపరేట్ దిస్ హస్క్ ఫ్రమ్ రైస్. హస్క్ అంటే ఏంటి? ఆ బియ్యం పైన ఉండే పొట్టు ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ హస్క్. He separates that. He separates. Rice mill in the stage 2, the rice miller separates the paddy into 2. What is it? Husk and rice. First stage manaki paddy was 2,500 and the second stage we have given it to the rice miller and the rice miller separates that. Separate chesi em chestadu? He separates it into husk and as well as rice. And here what is this sale here? 3,600. I will tell you how do we get this figures. 3,600. And now finally stage 3, sale of, what will this fellow do? He will put all the rice mill will put all the rice with himself. No, he will send it to the wholesale, retail shops, and he will even send to the hotlers and all people. ఇడ్లీలు ఎంతమందికి ఇష్టము? నాకైతే ఇడ్లీ దోశ అంటే చాలా ఇష్టం. మీ అందరికి ఇష్టమా లేదా? Yes, I know everyone of you loves idlis and doshas, right? Masala dosa is one of my favorite cuisines as well. I know everybody loves it. So అవన్నీ చేయడానికి మనకు అందులో బియ్యం అవసరం అవుతుంది. So obviously from the stage 3, where do we get across? The sale of idlis and dosas value added to 1,400. ఈ 1,400 ఎలా వచ్చింది మనకి? 3,600. మన ఇక్కడ చూడండి, see from here the total value added అయింది as it is 2,500. the stage 1 we are putting it here. From 2,500 what are we doing? We are getting it 1,100. ఈ 2,000 we are just as it is వచ్చిన వాల్యూ అంతా మనం యాడ్ చేసుకుంటూ వెళ్తే ఏమో తెలుసా, డబల్ ద అమౌంట్ అయిపోతుంది. మనం ఫైనల్గా వచ్చి ప్రొడక్షన్ చేసుకుని ఆ వాల్యూని మాత్రమే యాడ్ చేస్తాం ఇక్కడ. ఇది 2,500 ప్లస్ 3,600 ప్లస్ 1,400 యాడ్ చేస్తే వాల్యూ ఆల్వేస్ విల్ బి డబల్డ్. we will not add the as it is value. What will we add? We will add only the final production weightage we will add and total value will add it. See, if we add 2,500 plus 3,600 plus 1,400, what happens? Your GDP keeps on doubling. బట్ దట్ డజంట్ హ్యాపెన్. సో మనం ఏం చేయాలి, ఫైనల్ ప్రొడక్షన్ ఆఫ్ గూడ్స్ మనకి ఏదైతే మనకి వస్తుందో మన చేతికి దానిని మాత్రమే పై దాన్ని డిడక్ట్ చేసుకుంటూ యాడ్ చేస్తే మనకు వచ్చే ఫైనల్ వెయిటేజే జీడిపి. ఇప్పుడు అర్థమైందా, మనకి ఫార్మర్ పండించే రైస్ దగ్గర నుంచి ఇంటికి అమ్మ తీసుకొచ్చి పెట్టే దోశ ఇడ్లీ వరకు ఎంతవరకు వచ్చిందో. మనం అందరం ఎవ్రీ వన్ ఆఫ్ us were contributing to our GDP. So you understand, every one of us are contributing to the GDP. ప్రతి ఇంట్లో ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళు, every home, everybody, every one of the family, all the families put together, a city, all the cities and all the villages put together, a state, and all the states together put together, what is it we all are doing? We all are contributing to the GDP. Isn't it a very important thing? If the GDP grows, what does that mean? The standard of living in our country is growing. If the GDP is falling down, every one of them are coming down below the poverty line. What is BPL? It is as below the poverty line. So obviously, for example, you go to US and all, their GDP is very high compared to us. Why? Because of the standard of living is very high. Believe me, the day is not far when you all will take even our country to the higher heights, reach the pinnacle of success and get the best GDP ever. I think this is very clear. You all should get across all these things. Get into any profession, students, whatever you want you get into, but don't forget these basic concepts. Nenu a sector of the economy lo unnanu. If I am a doctor, which sector I am in? Doctor calls in which sector? Primary? No, not at all. Secondary? No, not at all. Which sector does he fall in? Service sector, because doctor does a service sector. So, being a doctor, aren't you contributing to the GDP? If you're an engineer, aren't you contributing to the GDP? If you're a milk vendor, aren't you contributing to the GDP? So, obviously, wherever you get into a profession, so what should you understand? Which sector am I? Where am I contributing to the GDP? Believe me, every one of you, every single person. I am a teacher. Even I fall in. Which sector do I fall in? Tell me. Yes, I do fall in service sector because I am doing service. Even I am contributing to the GDP. So you understand now how every one of us are contributing to the GDP. It's a very simple process, very simple process. Only thing is we need to understand the concepts clearly, and believe me, you'll be sorted out. Social studies is nothing but you'll have to understand, you need to the study of the society where you live in. You will have to understand all these things. So obviously, what is it we have studied all this, the production and employment? We understood the definition of the production. Yes, we got the definition of the production. We understood the definition of the employment, and after that we came to understand how many sectors in an economy are there, and what are the three sectors? Primary sector. Yes, and the second one is the secondary sector, and the third one is the tertiary sector or service sector. After that we said we have even couple of things, organized sector and unorganized sector, and we said organized sector is nothing but wherein we confine the sector which confines which falls under the domain of the government, we call it as the organized sector, and the sector which does not fall into the domain of the government, which is a privatization, we call it as unorganized sector. Once we understood all these sectors, then we started understanding the concept of GDP, the gross domestic product, and we started, what did we do? We started comparing the gross domestic product from 1973-74 to 2013-14, and we understood how every sector, the agriculture falls in primary sector, because anything which is in the domain of the nature, associated with the nature, always falls in the primary sector. How did agricultural sector contribute in 1973-74, and what is the contribution of GDP in 2013-14? And again, the industrial sector in 1773 and industrial sector in 2013-14, and again the services sector in 73-74 and 2013-14. Right? Where do I fall now? I fall in this sector, service sector. I am contributing to the GDP of my country. So getting across, so once we understood this graph, then what did we read? What did we understand? We understood the stages, the stage 1, the stage 1. We understood the stage 1, the stage 2 and the stage 3 by giving a small example. Go through this stage 1, stage 2 and stage 3 from the farmer to the rice miller, from the rice miller to the hotel or even to your home. So these three stages, every one of them are contributing to the GDP. Your mom and dad goes and gets the groceries, don't you think they contribute? They are taking the final output, paying something to the amount to the shopkeeper. Every one of us are contributing to the GDP. This is what I am trying to put across. So obviously these are the three stages. Go through this, and this is a very good example. Tomorrow in a board exams they might ask you explain the GDP in the three stages, and you can quote this as an example. Very simple. Stage 1, production of the paddy from the farmer, and production of sale of rice and husk by the rice miller, and the third stage is sale of idlis and dosas. That's what a hotler. So obviously if you get across these three stages, isn't it very easy, students, now understanding the GDP and all? Everybody thinks production and employment is a tougher chapter, very complicated one, but believe me, it's not. It's not at all a tougher chapter or complicated one. Production and employment is very important for every one of us to understand, because we all stand in some of the sector always, right? You will be, don't worry, you all students now, my vibrant and wonderful, cheerful students of my country. Probably within a span of 3 to 4 years, even every one of you will be contributing to the GDP, and I am sure you will do that. I wish you all the best for the production and the employment. And again, I am telling you, the spelling of the tertiary was wrong. Please go through that. Don't go by what I have written on the board. Please go check again the textbook. The spelling was wrong. I have written in the chaos. Thank you.